Well, welcome back to Cougar Chronicle. I got it right?
It is the Cougar Chronicle. We are there.
I keep calling it the Kearsarge Cougar Chronicle.
The first Thursday of the month.
Yeah,
Don't ever forget that.
Yeah, exactly.
The Cougar Chronicle comes in
That's right.
new. I know that within this last month, very excited. Got a lot of great feedback from people.
Yeah.
Really enjoying those stories. And I think what's awesome is that within there are 3 very different stories that got told. And so it's an opportunity to really break those things out. And just, again, it's always fun to have these guests.
Well,
that
we're
are
grateful
experts.
to you because, you're really lifting the veil and letting us really understand what's going on in the district through your experts.
It's a little bit different than the old Wizard of Oz. Don't pay any attention to that man behind the curtain. I think it's important for our community to understand what it is that their taxes go to.
It's true.
And so when we make, again, trust is our word of the year. And so how do you build trust? You build trust through transparency.
That's true.
But by the same token, there are so many great stories that people aren't getting access to.
It's amazing.
That you as an educator
yes.
here get to see it. I get to see it every day. Our guest gets to see it every day. But our community, it's ways for them to be able to interact that then hopefully opens up better conversations and may turn into, you know what, that resonates with me, I can help expand that, or I want to put more support behind certain things. Or if anything, just the confidence of knowing that these are great things that are happening every day for our kids.
We're approaching the deliberative session coming up in January, and it helps us understand where our tax dollars are going and why it's so important. So this is wonderful.
And it really isn't. I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to sell snake oil. There's no smoke, there's no mirrors. These are truly the great things that we're doing every day. And what great opportunities, like with our next guest, who we brought back.
That's right. It's old as new.
Oh, we have it come out. Again, I want to welcome Mr. Michael Bessette, the Assistant Superintendent for the Kearsarge Regional School District. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. If you remember last time, Michael did a wonderful job talking about artificial intelligence.
And really eased my fears.
Well, and I think you got to see how something scary, when we get some information and we're able to really kind of dive in, you can see that it has uses. And one of the things that I really have talked about last time is there were so many amazing things. There are so many amazing things that really have started and did start through the Assistant Superintendent's office. And I get the benefit of sitting in the cheap seats and saying, these are what I think about that. But one of the things we talked about last time, I wanted to bring him back again, and I see this being a consistent segment within the show and the program, is we really have changed and shifted on how we are providing feedback to our teachers. So when you remember being a teacher, the principal would come in your classroom one time, announced some
with the notepad and the pen,
and doing all that stuff.
Right.
Well, that evaluative model just we found out isn't as great as people think. Let's be honest here. You're going to put on the dog and pony show for your boss when they show up, but it's
tell the kids to be on their best behavior.
Exactly. Here's some gumdrops, here's some puffy stickers, or whatever we go. The model that got shifted with a lot of leadership, and it was a collaborative effort, and I know Michael will talk about that, is this idea of this model based on growth. And so it's looking directly at the skills of the individual teacher, giving them agency and the ability to decide, how do I as an educator want to grow? And then we provide support around that. Would you say that's a pretty good starting point? Expand on that. Talk a little bit about how we got here with this model.
I mean, the history of this started with merit pay. Years and years and years ago in this district, preceding myself in the district used to operate on a merit pay, which was a pay for performance kind of model. And so a supervisory agreement was crafted, probably 3 superintendents, maybe 4 before John, that came into fruition. It was built on Charlotte Danielson standards. There were about 60 standards that were reportable standards. And over time, teachers were ranked for their performance on their ability to meet those standards. And the differences in performance, when you started to look at the data around how teachers were scoring within those systems, was thousandths of a point. And it was meaningless data. It really wasn't describing what teachers needed to know in order to professionally improve. And it sure wasn't capitalizing on the important aspects of teachers' passions about the things that are important to them in their classrooms. It was more of a standardized approach, a kind of a here's your recipe for success, and let's tell you how you're doing in comparison with it. So they would do the dog and pony show. They would show up.
Almost a pay-to-play type of thing?
Yes.
And the amount of reflection and the amount of energy that went into the system was not equal. Teachers were putting a lot of time and energy and effort into thinking about how am I going to show up for that one particular event, rather than reflecting on the feedback that was coming to them from that event, right? And so the ROI, the return on investment, just wasn't there. And even more insidious, it eroded trust, because when teachers felt like the feedback that they were receiving wasn't important to them, or worse, it was critical of their performance, and it was a one and done type of an event where there wasn't a good sufficient body of evidence, then we were in trouble.
It doesn't benefit anybody, does it?
And Laura, we've got one of the things that's kind of neat about this, and we're going to go into this in more depth, is we partnered, the district partnered with a guy named Dave Cartoonan from cartoonan.edu, and we created a custom video about Portrait of an Educator.
Okay.
That really kind of encapsulates the feeling and the spirit of that. And I really, well, you want, let's take a look at it.
We have it.
Yes.
Good. Let's see it.
A portrait isn't just a creation by an artist. It's a compact between the creator and their subject. The subject presents who they are in this moment, where they've come from, and where they may be going, while the creator provides the best conditions to capture the moment. The backdrop, lighting, and framing to help a subject shine. At Kearsarge Regional School District, this is how we approach our portrait of an educator. There's trust that when we place a lens on the professionals who educate our students, they'll be provided the best conditions to shine. And so that when we assess each educator's portrait, we know the conditions, composition, and angle is the same for all.
A portrait of a Kearsarge educator starts with 3 key competencies.
Kearsarge educators demonstrate knowledge of content and pedagogy.
We create a professional and effective learning environment.
And we show professionalism in everything we do.
We demonstrate these competencies by meeting learning targets based on our experience level.
As professional educators, we know learning is a lifelong journey. We continue our professional development every year, all year long, not just while school is in session, so that when we sit for our next portrait, we can show our growth over time and present our best selves.
At Kearsarge Regional School District, we know a picture may consist of millions of pixels to create a vibrant image.
But that 1 million data points can't provide a path for professional growth. Our educator cycle of professional growth revolves around 5 key steps, and it builds on the compact of trust in every good portrait. Between our educators, the subject of the portrait, and our administrators tasked with assessing them. Our cycle starts with educator reflection. We each analyze our own proficiency, identify areas of need for growth, and determine the actions we'll need to support our learning, all directed at better serving our students. It then moves to goal setting. We set SMART goals to achieve this growth. We then collect evidence to demonstrate these goals and check in with our administrators. We gather artifacts that demonstrate our skills, knowledge, and effectiveness, like student work, lesson plans, and even our own reflective writings. We then present this evidence of our competency. When we each use the same structure to present, we know that every educator's portrait can be assessed objectively. And by the spring of each school year, our administrator provides feedback, which includes a proficiency rating to begin the cycle anew.
As administrators, we honor this portrait with supportive, actionable feedback.
And we pledge to assess each educator in the same way. Our proficiency rating consists of 4 distinct tiers, which we will assess in each of our 3 competency areas.
The first tier is not demonstrating, indicating a need for support to reach the target. The second tier is developing, indicating proficiency approaching the target. The third tier is applying, indicating proficiency at the expected target. And the fourth and highest tier is innovative or leading, indicating a proficiency achievement above the expected target.
We will support our educators at every tier of proficiency, not just through feedback, but by walking them through setting their own targets and sponsoring training opportunities at both the school and district level for us to grow together.
This is how we create a portrait of an educator. A compact of trust between educators and administrators, where both sharpen the focus on serving our students and where every member of our community can look into these portraits and understand what it means to be a professional educator in Kearsarge Regional School District.
Unbelievable.
Again,
yeah, it really, and it tells
breaks
you.
it down.
Yeah,
Our
the story.
people, again, as you look at that, it's our people telling our story. Those
That's
are our
right.
educators. And so we have folks that are part of that thing. And Michael and Superintendent Fenneberg previously were instrumental in those partnerships. And I remember when you were filming that, we had talked about how much fun that day was.
Was it really?
It was a lot of fun. And you know, from the work that we did with teachers, this work was not just myself or Winford or any administrator in general. We had 25 at one point. I think we ended with 22, but 22 to 5 educators and administrators sitting at a table for almost 2.5 years to develop this model. And
Wow.
it started with an analysis of where things weren't going well. We really broke down, and we took the data, asked everybody involved, teachers as well as educators who are in alternate roles like nurses or occupational therapists, all the types of individuals who we consider still to be educators. We collected all this data, and then we sat in a room for literally a year digesting the data. And what we came out with that is that we needed to work on our trust building. We needed a system that would develop trust. We needed to have a system that gave educators voice and choice in their experience about selecting and honing in on the things that were professionally important to them. We needed to have a standards-based, competency-based model with learning targets that we could differentiate and allow teachers to have access to at different points in their careers that specifically target accountability in the early years before we got to the place where tenure was a question for them. And then afterwards, respect the professionalism that they have and the professional work that they do, and honor those values by really investing in what they believe to be important professional pursuits that lead to student learning outcomes that are improved. And so we've created this model, which is a cyclical process. You can see from the video that process of goal setting, which is then followed by the teacher's professional development programming that they establish for themselves as an IPDIP, one of those fancy entry Bible words, right?
The alphabet soup.
Yes, yeah.
It's think of it as a triptych from
Gotcha.
from AAA. Remember the old days before computers?
Oh, yeah.
So the triptych model, exactly, that triptych model where it says, here's where I want to be, but here are the checkpoints and the benchmarks along the way, and these are the resources I might need. That shifts the thinking, and it causes the administrator to take on a much different role. And that role is supporting and providing coaching or feedback that's actionable to get that educator what they need to find success.
So it's shoulder to shoulder
100%.
as opposed to you'll do this.
Yes.
Yeah. Right?
And there's no, and again, it all comes back to student learning. So it's you decide what you want to be involved with. The conversation that then happens is that's wonderful. How is that going to impact student learning, and how are we going to know? And so it's not, there's no gotcha model to it because it's your decision. Our job is to support your choice. Now, we can coach, we can influence, we can do a lot of different things, but we can't direct, because the second we direct, now we're in a different model. And we've got a different system for that when we have teachers that may need a little more support, that needs to be a little more directed. But this thing is all about, it's about educator success and how it impacts student learning.
And Michael, there's a lot of listening there, wasn't there, in the video? So.
And you have to listen, and I think you have to be open to the feedback that the teachers and the educators were providing to us. But I had an old friend, she was a BCBA, that I used to work with when I was a principal years and years ago, and she used to say something very similar to what John's, I think, father used to say, which is about inspecting and expecting. But she always used to say to me when I was a principal, you get more of what you pay attention to. And so when we're sitting back and we're looking at educators who are putting forth their best foot effort to try to lead a project for their own professional growth, and that's the key word, growth. Teachers would not take risks under the old model to really try something on that was new or innovative in its approach, because they were afraid that they were either going to lose money or they were going to lose some sort of a performance ranking which is going to threaten them. Taking that pressure off and saying to them, no, we want to work with you to your growth and we want to support that, changes the game. And it really puts them in a position of professional respect that they deserve, but also helps us to ensure quality, because everything we're doing is about student learning outcomes.
So Michael, when you come back, and it sounds like we have a regular segment with our assistant superintendent.
Like a minute with Michael. But it's more than a minute.
Love that.
I know, but I don't want to just give him 60 seconds because he's got so much to say.
Well, we can, and you know, as I listen to this ties in directly with competencies, right? And really helping retain good teachers.
It is.
Because it's a collaborative process.
And it also models the student learning process, believe it or not. It gives our teachers a better understanding of when they're sitting down and they're crafting lessons and activities that are competency and designed, and learning targets are embedded into those competencies. We're modeling for our own teachers a process that they're modeling in their classrooms for their students. So it's, and honestly, it was also, John and I, when we first started, we decided that we need to do this as administrators as well. We didn't have a satisfactory administrative piece, so we've designed the Portrait of an Administrator, which is a parallel process with a different set of competencies, mind you, and learning targets, but it's in exactly the same design that from everyone in my office, myself included, down, the only person that doesn't get to do that is the superintendent.
I have a different set of bosses, so it's a whole different mindset.
Exactly.
We'll talk about that at some point.
But we model that for our teachers.
Right, and it's modeling. Yeah, well,
and it's accountability, that you're walking the same path that we're going to walk.
Right.
And because we want that to be just growth, and it is all about lifting folks up to be the best educators they can.
Michael, thank you so much. It's great having you again, and we'll see you next show. Yep. Really, we'd love to have you back. Well, coming up, someone's on the hot seat.
Oh, I forgot about that. Now I'm nervous.
It's Ask the Superintendent time, and we do have a couple of questions, so get ready.
It'll be good. I can't wait.
Stay with us. We'll be back.